Hey, come catch this wave with the Fixx Squad. The fix is in. I'm Mr. Soul, I'm tuning in. What you doing?
Stand up. James left, but the king still reigns here. No tears, no love lost, no rain here. Delivers, I promise, Santa rain here. Love for the city still resides here. Fix for your ailment, faith that resides outside the lines. Detox your mind, cause it matters. Art outside the box, we paste better. The fix is in, and we rock a channel. We rock with them for what's deep within. Expose those who talk but don't live. Expose those who talk but don't live. Take offense. Judge by the fruit from the tree, but if the fruit tastes.
All right, welcome back. You're tuned into The Fixx, your source for faith-infused hip-hop, R&B, and poetry, right here on Siriusxm Channel 154, Holy Culture Radio, Dice Gamble, DJ Focus. Listen, today we have in our studio just an amazing, wonderful person. First of all, a rapper, a writer. I'm just going to go ahead and say producer, but a fantastic woman of God who online, she's been making a lot of noise, and that's how I actually was able to run across her. She kept popping up in my feed. I'm like, who is this out here grinding for Jesus? So it was like, okay, we got to get her on the show, learn more about her and her story. And so I just want you guys to give a very warm welcome to Miss Megan Tossi in the building. Welcome, Meg.
Hey, what's up? Thank you, sis. I appreciate it, for real.
Come on now. It's a gift and a blessing to have you here with us today. And we cannot wait to introduce you to our audience. This is insane. So I'm always excited when the women come on here. But you got so many stories right now. So we're just gonna go ahead and inspire the people.
Yeah.
But let's get a little bit of your background going. If you can just share with our audience your faith story, where you come from.
Definitely. So, I would just say I got saved when I was 12. I came to Christ at that age. It was more of a fire and brimstone thing, though. So I just kind of did it out of fear to not go to hell, because that's kind of, I feel like, around that time frame, how, preachers were kind of preaching, and then I ended up going to a, what's it called? Like a church camp the next year, which I feel like those are honestly super important for kids to go to. It changed my life completely. When I was there, I realized there's more to, being saved. There's more to knowing God than just going to heaven, and getting out of hell. So when I was there, I learned you actually can live your life with him. You can get to know him, but not just that, but you can serve him. And there can be so many amazing things he can do through your life. You know what I mean? And so it gave me a meaning, because I never really felt I had a meaning besides sports or something. So that's kind of how I really came to Christ, especially that next year when I actually realized there was more to it than just, getting out of hell and going to heaven kind of thing. So, and then honestly, my life's been kind of crazy though. So, basically leading up to getting saved, I was going through a lot of mental illness stuff at a young age, around 8, starting around 8. So I was having a really hard time till I was 12. It kind of went away when I got saved, which was kind of cool. And then basically when I was I was an athlete. Like I said, I played basketball, all this stuff, volleyball, soccer, also surf. I do whatever, I'll do whatever. I'll play whatever. But basically when I was 15, I ended up getting sick. And so when I was 16, I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease. And so that was crazy because I wanted to go to, college to play basketball. Even if it wasn't a D1 school, I just wanted to go somewhere. But that kind of changed that because I got really sick. I ended up dropping a lot of weight. And by the time I was 18, I was 101 pounds at 8.
Wow.
I mean, at 5'8". So that's pretty tiny for someone that tall. Yeah. And so all of that kind of was, I think, a lot of things that the devil was trying to use to take me from the calling God's given me, because when I was at that church camp the next year, God called me into missions, right? So, and I didn't really know what that was, but I knew there's missionaries out in the jungle somewhere. And I was like, I guess I'm gonna be doing that, whatever, I've been doing that for 40 years out of my life. I don't know, and so that's what I was planning for, because that's what I knew missions to be. But there's way more than just being in the jungle, where
That's right.
find you, know what I mean? But which is dope too. You can do that, whatever. But then I got sick and realized I probably can't do that. I probably die. But I feel like the devil's always been trying to get at me, and through a lot of different ways, through health, mental illness, traumas throughout my life, and even like recently, like a house fire, like 3 months ago. There's like a lot of crazy stuff that's kind of happened, but I think the most important thing in all of that is maintaining the right perspective. So like what my pastor always stresses on is like, you know, where are you seated? Because really, if you're God's child, you're seated in the heavenlies, right? So, but most
Hmm.
Christians don't actually live out that way. They'll still see things in the earth realm, you know.
Yeah.
So basically, when something happens, like, well, God, why'd you do this? You must hate me. You know, you're cruel. Like, you're a terrible God. Like, how is God real? This is happening. But then, if you actually look from where you're seated and you're in heaven looking down, you can see more of God's perspective, and everything kind of changes, you know. And what helps me is like God's the one crying with me. He's the one that's helping me. He's the one protecting me. You know, if anything, the devil's the one happy. Like he's the one that's the enemy, not God. So why are we always trying to make God the enemy when he's the actual one helping us and keeping us alive? And so
Mm.
that's kind of a big thing. So I guess just to wrap that up, like, you know, I just got saved around 12, 13. And I've gone through some crazy stuff before and during, you know, after I got saved. But I know that, you know, God is definitely real based off of just my life, holding on to him in times when I thought I wouldn't survive, you know, whether it's like suicidal or physically, um,
Hmm.
like God constantly shows himself to me, like, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's kind of a little bit of my story, you know. So
I love that God constantly shows
yeah,
himself to me. I
yeah,
think he does that to everyone, but I'll be honest, I don't think everyone looks for God in that way. You know what I'm saying? So
mm,
I'm gonna give you your props for looking for God to show himself. You know what I'm saying? And even calling him probably to show himself at times. Um, I love it. I love it. So, what is your like main I'm gonna keep pushing today. Like, what do you really lean on? Because I mean, obviously we know it's God, but like, what are some of the thoughts, or like, what is your main motivation? Like, what are you
yeah.
striving towards? Yeah.
I think what helps me a lot is I think the more I know who I am in Christ, the more I want to push. Because there was a time when I didn't really know that, even though I was saved and I was super insecure, suicidal, all that stuff. And I really didn't understand like why I was here, because I was always the underdog throughout my life. I got made fun of a lot. Like I was that kid that got made fun of all the time, you know. And so I guess I always like allowed myself to view myself the ways they would portray me in their heads, I
Mm.
guess, even though I believe it was just the enemy trying to take me down, right? Trying to redefine who I am. Because if you believe something about yourself, you're going to live that way. You know, like if you
Yeah.
believe you're stupid, you're probably going to act stupid because you believe it. But you very likely are not stupid, you know? So most people are not like stupid, you know what I mean? So even if you haven't had education, you're still not stupid. Like people are smart usually, you know what I mean? And so
Hmm.
so I've had to learn that. And I think a big way of that is just being in community, like my church. I went
There
to
you
a new
go.
church that was more edifying. And people that really saw me for me. And anytime I'd say something bad about myself without even realizing it, because it was just so normal to me, like they would correct
Mm.
me. And I thought it was weird at first. I thought they were being judgmental or something. I was like, man, these people
Mm.
are mean. And then I realized they were actually trying to help me and they cared
Yeah.
about me. They were like, "No, you're speaking death of yourself." I'm like, "What the heck
There you
kind of
go.
voodoo is this?" Like, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
but then I was like, and then I realized it. I was like, "Wait, they're right." Like my whole life,
Yeah.
I've had people speaking death over me, and I accepted it because it was
Mm.
just such a normal thing. And then when
Mercy.
I finally was around healthy believers that were correcting me in a loving way, with like not condemnation, but like loving conviction, you know, and just wanting to see the
Mm.
best, like it helped me realize like, you know, all of what I have dealt with throughout my life, like most of that was not true, you know. And
Wow.
so like the whole redefining myself process, which I'm still trying to work on, but I feel like that has helped me a lot, is being around those people that help me, like, you know, I can lean on them when I'm feeling like I can't get through the next day. Even if it's like text messages, but also
There you
on
go.
Christ, of course, you know, like with the word of God, like staying in the word. Like of course we're not always perfect with that, but trying to be
Yeah.
consistent in that, and trying to you know, make sure that he is my center. And I don't just say that he's my center, but I actually live that like he actually
That's
is, not
good.
just that I say it. That helps me a lot, because when I'm not, tapping into the word, tapping into the Lord, tapping into my community, like it's like a different Megan, So it's like
Hmm.
depression,
Yep.
like all this stuff, because I go through a lot all the time with all these things I deal with. But like, and even if not, like the devil's just at us all the time, you know what I mean? He's trying to get us down. But like the Lord for sure keeps me up, because if I didn't have him, I don't even think I'd be here, to be honest. So
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully that answered your question. But
No, I think for me, you were like, man, the fact you surrounded yourself with loving believers who don't mind, kind of like eh, lovingly
yeah,
correcting you or course correcting you, or even, just letting you know when you're speaking certain things. We talk about that all the time on the show. Having a great community is super important when it comes to our faith.
very much.
People around us who, like you said, can always edify you, build you up,
Mm,
pour into you. You can lean
yeah.
on them, it's beyond important. Now, listen, we are going to have to go to a break here in 2 minutes, but explain to some people what Crohn's disease is, real quick.
Yeah, so I got diagnosed, like I said, when I was 16. And basically, what that is it's kind of complex, but I guess the simple way to explain it is your immune system, like it's an immune autoimmune disorder, disease, whatever.
Mm.
So your immune system attacks like your GI tract. So it could be your like intestines or your esophagus, your mouth, your hands, whatever. I don't know why your hands are included, but it is for some reason. But I don't
Because you're
have
trying
that
to eat
one.
with them.
So
You're trying to eat with them.
I'm like, how would, yeah, maybe it's just like, I don't know. My
But,
saliva is poisonous. No, I'm just kidding. But I don't have the hand one, but it's usually for me, it's in my like intestines, like my colon and
hmm
all of that. And I think sometimes in my esophagus. But basically it's like it creates ulcers all throughout your GI tract. And you have a hard time digesting food, so you get malnourished easily. Same with water. Like really anything is hard to soak in, I guess, because my body is just like damaged, so it doesn't want to absorb things really. So I have to usually drink a lot more water, and I have to eat only certain things because a lot of things make me really have a lot of pain. So like I have the most like limited diet out there, you know what I mean? And even sometimes that diet hurts me too. So, but it honestly impacts everything. Like I am extremely fatigued a lot of times. Like I have arthritis in my hips right now because of it, because it attacks your joints. And so it's really all around. But I think the main thing that like people know Crohn's to be is like your GI tract being messed up. And
hmm
so a lot of people with that either go to the bathroom a lot or they don't go enough, or like it's kind of like that. So it can be really dangerous depending on how your body is reacting to medications and stuff if you are medicated. So yeah, it's
Okay.
kind of a brief explanation of
No,
that.
I wanted you to give that overview because I think sometimes people take for granted when they can just come and go, eat what they want, do what they
Yeah.
want when they want, and for me, like I said, I wanted to give you your props and your shout out because I obviously following your story for well
Mm,
over a year now, seeing you continue to push for the kingdom, push for your music,
yeah.
continue to get out there and motivate people and inspire people and
Mhm.
share the gospel as you're going and you're young, so as you're going through physical challenges, to me it's just
Yeah. It's
it's
difficult.
just it's an
Yeah.
yeah, no girl, I
And
know
I'm
it. I mean,
really weak
I don't
right
know,
now
no,
and no energy,
but
but I
but
do whatever the Lord
I
lets me do.
see, yeah, you talk about it, so that's why I was like, man, you've been sharing, you've been very transparent about it.
Yeah.
And so we're going to talk more about music when we come back. Listen, you are tuned into the Fixx. Don't turn that dial. Dice Gamble right here, hanging out with the Megan Tossi on SiriusXM Channel 154, Holy Culture Radio. The Fixx is in.
Holy Culture Radio. We're not just background noise. We play the music that inspires you because every song has a story. Christian hip hop and R&B music and talk on SiriusXM Channel 154, 24 hours a day. Holy Culture Radio is changing the game. Discussions about faith, arts, vocation, and education. We talk about the real issues that affect our communities and work together to find solutions. Join the discussion at holyculture.net and be heard.
And we're back. Yes, you're still tuned into The Fixx, your source for faith-infused hip-hop, R&B, and poetry, right here on SiriusXM, Channel 154, Holy Culture Radio. Listen with Dice Gamble and DJ Focus. And yes, you have been listening to Megan Tossi give her story, give a little bit of her background. And I know you guys are like, hey, let's get into this music because we see her out here just dropping these bars. So we want to know a little bit more about what she's got going on. And that's what we're about to jump into, Megan. So listen, give us a little bit of how did you even get into music?
Yeah. So I was raised around like a lot of the hip hop, like reggaeton culture. Like I'm from Central America. Central America, Central Florida. I mean, that'd be cool if I was from Central America, but I'm from
That
Central
would be very
Florida.
cool.
So I'm pretty much right by Orlando, but I'm in a city called Sanford. And so that city like is very like diverse. And so I guess like I was around a lot of depending on what part of the city you're in, but for me, I was around a lot of hip hop and like reggaeton and all that. And my uncle would babysit me a lot, and he'd be blasting his reggaeton because he's Puerto Rican and stuff. So I was always around like that music, and I just loved it. And my whole life, I just loved writing. You know, like from a little kid, words like inspired me. Like I thought it was just so cool. You know, that there were so many different words, and like you could write your whatever you're experiencing, you know, like especially rhymes, like poetry was a big thing when I was a kid to me. Like I
Mm-hmm.
thought that was super cool. So I would write poems a lot. And I was really loved hip hop. Um, and so I kind of just started writing over the years. And then once I got to 13, I was like getting bullied a lot. So I'm like, I'm just not okay. So I just started writing hip hop songs. I was like, bruh,
Okay.
I'm never gonna drop this. I'm a white girl, but I kept writing anyways, and I was like, I was like, this is like how I feel like I can like express myself well, and like
Yeah.
I'm around this culture a lot. Like I feel like this is something I'm used to being around, you know, and it felt like comfortable to me, and so I was writing it, and then I guess fast forward like almost 10 years later when I was 21, um, you know, I was writing it more again
Mm-hmm.
because I was going through a lot of crazy stuff, and I feel like one of my friends in high school told me like he was like, "Yo, like you should honestly like rap because you honestly probably could do it." And I was like, "I'm good."
Mm.
And he was like, "I was like, I don't know if people want to listen to me." And he was like, "Bro, you could do it." And
Mm-hmm.
like I was like, "Man, maybe I should," but I never did anything with it. But I think like we said earlier with like speaking life into people, that actually was a
Yeah.
seed planted because I never
Mm-hmm.
considered it because I never thought people would take me seriously. So then but that always stayed in my head, like the back of my head, like really back in my head. And then eventually it just kind of, I guess it kind of just happened. Like I realized that it's more feasible nowadays than it was when I was younger. And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't realize that. I thought it would be like $5,000 every song. And I was like, there ain't no way I'm gonna do that, you know? So I guess once I started realizing that, I started actually tapping into it. Um, but yeah, so that's kind of how I started how I got into hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's always been a love my whole life for me. And I
Okay.
think just being raised around that culture a lot really helped me to just feel like that's something I wanted to tap into.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so that's kind of how I got
How you
into
got
it.
into it?
Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
What about this Christian part though? Because it's so funny
Yeah.
because we just celebrated 50 years of hip hop. One of the things we've definitely been adamant about is adding in CHH because we've been knee deep in this for a good 30 years, but to the world, only about 20.
Yeah.
Like, how did you even get into the Christian aspect of this?
Yeah, I think for me it was like since I got, like I surrendered my life to Christ when I was like 12 or I think 13. Um I think for me I was like whatever I do, I want to be glorifying to God. So whatever it is, like to me it was like I'm going to be a missionary like I said in the middle of the jungle for 40 years until I'm almost dead, you know? And I was like but then that didn't obviously happen. And then God started giving me like showing me I can do music. Like I drum in my
Mm,
church and
okay.
I'd never
Go
thought I could
drummer.
do that. I never thought I'd rap. I never thought I'd do any of this because I was always an athlete. I never had any idea I could do music, you know?
Mm,
So I never thought I would do it until God just started making it happen, you know? And so
yeah.
I guess as far as Christian hip hop goes, I did hear a lot throughout my life, you know, before Spotify was a thing. I used to research Christian artists because I was
Okay.
just like, I love discovering people. And, you know, so I remember one of the first ones I found was like Kanan and Lecrae.
Let's
And
go.
I thought Kanan was dope, bro. I was like,
Come
this
on
dude
now.
is crazy. I was like, this dude, like,
Crazy, crazy.
dude, this dude can just spit without even, I don't even know how he does it.
Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
like, and you
Go
can
ahead.
tell what he's saying, and he's not like slurring over the line. I was just like crazy. And then Lecrae and like, I remember V Rose. I remember,
Come
and
on now.
then
That's our girl.
Rebecca Shea. I
Becca's
remember
our
her.
that
She's
girl.
dope. I love that girl.
Hmm.
Just Trip, all those OGs
Hmm.
basically I discovered, and I think that kind of was like I didn't even know this was out there. I just know
Wow.
Toby Mac, a Group One Crew, and I was DC Talk. That's
Mm,
all I knew about. and
Yeah.
like I never heard of Lecrae or any of them. And then right about that time, Lecrae started getting bigger, and so I
Mm.
think more people started finding out about it. And
Mm.
I think for me, I was like, well, if I'm doing hip hop, it's going to be Christian because I'm not about to, put music
Come
out
on.
there that's
Come
not
on.
going to
Yeah.
help
I'm
people.
with you.
Because I feel like, of course, secular hip hop can sometimes help people if it's about good things, but I feel like a lot of times it actually hurts kids more than it helps with like the lyrics and stuff. And I don't
Yeah.
want to be putting out stuff that stumbles, like it's a stumbling block to these kids and to anybody. Like, like I want to be speaking life into people and speaking the word into people.
That's good.
And I just don't want to do anything else with lyrics, and I never would do anything else with lyrics. So that's
Mhm.
kind of why I went that route. So
You made a comment earlier. This is weird for me because half of the world is white.
yeah,
So why why would you feel like it would be awkward? I mean,
yeah,
and this is just me being very candid because I'm like, I that's the part I don't get. But like, what really helped you get over you? Like your idea of I'm not gonna fit over here. You know what I'm saying? Because
yeah.
you just do it now. So that's why I'm like, what happened? Did you just realize like, nah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, I was like, as a kid, I got made fun of all the time for being white, so that was always something that I was ashamed of, and I'm still
wow.
trying to not be ashamed of that because it's kind of
What is
hard not
that,
to like.
girl?
Yeah,
What
it's kind of
kind of
hard with our
what is
history.
this?
Like it's hard not to be like ashamed of it. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is pretty
Are you
bad.
serious? Let's talk about this. This is crazy.
But
So what?
straight, yeah.
You didn't do nothing. So what are we
Yeah,
talking
I
about?
know. I know, but it's still
It's
I think
crazy.
that's hard, but also the fact that like my life, like as a kid, people would a lot of times kind of just make fun of me for my color. Oh, white girl can't catch, white girl can't do this. I was like, bro, I'm gonna catch that football.
Yes.
I got you,
I'm gonna
fam.
catch that
I
ball.
would do it
Okay.
anyways. I'm like, I caught the football, bro. Like, you know, or they would just like, I think they would just have like this an assumption of me like being like racist or something. And that would always
Mm,
hurt me because I'm like a really loving person and I always want to embrace everyone. And honestly, I have a huge heart for culture because I
yeah.
think God just made me that way. So like especially I think that's one reason why he called me into missions is because I just really like love culture and ethnicity, like different types of cultures in different countries. I just find it fascinating. Um,
Mm,
that's just how I've always been. And so I think when people would say stuff like that, it would like hurt me because I was like, man, like I want to be your friend, bro.
yeah.
So I was like, come on, like,
That's
dude,
funny. Right, right.
like,
Okay, listen, I know we don't have a lot of time. Let's get into this music. So tell us what you're working on right now. Tell us what you got going on. Like we've been watching your Instagram. We just saw you drop something new. So go ahead.
yeah. So I'm dropping this song called Wilted on the 15th. And that song basically, so Wilted basically is about, so I would say like if you think of like a plant, when it gets wilted, and you're
Yeah.
like that thing looks like it's dead, but it's actually not.
Yeah.
Like of course if you
Right.
keep not watering it, it's gonna die, but it's still alive. It just looks terrible. So
Yeah.
and I noticed one time I guess we were watering the wilted plants and then the next day they looked like fine. And I was like, how in the world are you fine? I was just like, I need to write a song about this one day. So I wrote it down in like my little area where I'm like, one day write a song about this. And so I wrote a song about it. And I was at the beach right before my house caught on fire, like a few days before I was writing this song. And I was like, like personally, I'm such a go, go, go person that like I just don't know how to just be still, even though I have to a lot of times. But even mentally, I'm just always go, go, go. Um, and it's hard for me to just quiet my mind and to be still in God's presence. And so I feel like this song I wrote inspired off of my experiences of being wilted. Like I'm alive, like I'm a God's child and I have his water technically, but I just have so little of it that I'm just so
Mm,
wilted and I just feel like, wow, like I just really need water, like I need to get in the word. I need to just soak in his presence, but instead I'm letting my anxiety rule me. I'm letting fear rule me. I'm letting my
mm,
health take over. I'm letting, working all these hours, whatever it is. And I feel like that's kind of why I wrote the song, but it also can go for like a lukewarm Christian, like a prodigal child as
okay.
well.
Ooh,
So really
mercy.
any Christian that's feeling like they just need to be poured into, even if they don't know the need to be, that's
Mm,
kind of what this song is about. Like just basically someone that just needs to be poured into by the Lord. And I kind of made it a little trippy sort of because I feel like that's kind of how it feels when you're like that. You're just
yeah.
out of it, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so I was like, I want to make this song like sound like how I feel. So I
Mm,
kind of did that.
that's good.
with my own twist, I guess. So, so yeah, that's kind of what happened with that. But
I love that. What is like the biggest piece of feedback you've received so far concerning, your music and what you do that you just did not expect, or that you were
yeah,
just like, wow, God.
I guess concerning my music, I would say the biggest feedback. That's a good question. Um, Man, that's a good question. I think it would probably be when like when I notice sometimes like a bigger artist will kind of notice me a little bit, and like it doesn't
Mm,
matter being noticed, but it makes me feel like, oh, maybe like I can do this, you know? But also I think what really was something that kept me going was when I will just say two things. So when Chris Sincere, I don't know if y'all probably know who Chris Sincere is. He's dope. Yeah, he's around my area too. When I first
wow.
started, I dropped a song called Judas, which I don't think is that great, but some people like it, so whatever, it's still up. But anyways, I dropped it, and I'm like, that microphone was trash. But I dropped it, and and I posted on my story like, yo, if anyone wants to donate money because I'm broke and I want to make another
Yeah.
song, you know,
Come
because
on
that's
now.
like, I don't know, that's what I did back then, I guess like one or two times. And Christopher
Right.
Sincere, like before anyone really knew about him, he like I guess followed me and we talked sometimes, and he donated like maybe $25 or something, and I was like,
Nice.
this is cool. I don't even know who this guy is, but this is encouraging. And then like a
Yeah.
year later, he like blew up, and I was like, dude, that's crazy. Like this dude actually believes in me. And then the other, I think people would be like, like I think Hello, he's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like he seems to like what I'm doing, um and then Baruch, I don't know
Yep.
if you know him, but
I do.
he's really cool. He's a really
Yep.
good guy, and I think just having like KC, different people that express belief in you that are more successful. I feel like it makes you feel like I can do this, even though
Yeah.
of course, we shouldn't be running off what people think. But when someone who is more successful and they kind of see something in you, I think it kind of gives you like, oh, maybe maybe I can do this, and like it's encouraging, and I think
Yeah.
it's affirming. So that's kind of something that I feel like has helped me a lot. To be
Mm,
confident, like more confident than I was when I first started.
mm.
So yeah,
I love it. Listen, I know we could sit here and talk all day,
yeah.
Megan. Listen, I can't express like my gratitude, and I'm really grateful that you held on to that link for about a year. But and the only reason why I really say that is there's a need for one, women in this game.
Mm,
Two, obviously, like I shared with you, just our station and where God is really taking Christian hip hop music,
yeah,
and three, like just your transparency, your originality, and your story. Like to me, like those mixed together, that's what people need. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
Like we need these people to overcome, by your testimony
yeah,
and the word of the lamb. And you just go. And so it's very inspiring even for me to watch it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like,
mm,
oh, she is gone. You know what I'm saying? Like she's she's not stopping, she's gone, she's on
yeah,
her
thank
way. You know what I'm saying? Like
you.
even in like some people would have never been like, hey, are we still good? Some people are like, man, you know what I'm saying? I've been going
Mm,
through so much, you know, she reached out, and I'm not going to even ask again, but
mhm,
I knew I was like, nah, she need to be on here, and
yeah,
so I'm just grateful that our audience now knows who you are, you know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Cause I want to solidify this moment in history where I'm like, no, you know what I'm saying?
yeah, it's cool. It's
She's
cool.
doing, yeah, you're doing what you were called to do. Like we
Yeah,
didn't even talk about all this drumming and all the stuff you be doing. Like it's
it's
insane.
shark bite.
So I mean, yeah, bro, just the gifts God is giving you
Some
is
crazy stuff. Yeah,
I mean, you're just out here running, like you said,
yeah,
like really being courageous. And so we want people to be bold in their faith, like you said, I know you get it, like, yeah, where you sit, it really, really matters. And you dropped
yeah,
nothing but gems today. So go ahead and introduce what you want us to play and let the people know where they can follow you and
yeah.
find you.
Yeah. So, like as you guys probably know now, my name is Megan Tossi, and that song "Wilted," that song is pretty dope, I think, and I really hope you like it. I'm pretty sure they're gonna be playing it for you. If not, it'll be on Spotify, Apple Music, any platform that you can think of. And for whatever reason, if it's not there, let me know and I'll get it there. But it should be there if DistroKid does their job. And it would be under Megan Tossi. Again, the song is called "Wilted." Yeah. So let's go global. That's my brand. Let's do it.
So let's go global, y'all.
Yeah,
Y'all go
we're in
ahead
the
and
gospel
find her on it.
ministry.
Come
Yeah.
on now. Make sure you're following her, listening to her. Thank you for coming on the show, sis. Once again, you guys have been tuned into the Fixx, and y'all just keep it locked right here. DJ Focus, Dice Gamble, SiriusXM. Listen, Holy Culture Radio. We are on channel 154 over here, y'all. The Fixx is in, and we out. Peace, y'all.